think that some fans are kind of lukewarm on it just because, they wanted an offensive guy or one of these hot coordinators. We took a bunch of calls in the first couple days of the week, but this is the way I feel, and I've said it a million times. All right. I think that they've got a really legit shot at turning something around because Bruce Allen's out of the picture. If Bruce Allen was still in the picture, I would have been lukewarm on the hire. I'd say, well, he still has to deal with that hurdle every single day. But I think that Rivera is a solid choice. I'm not saying he's going to win a Super Bowl. I'm not even saying he's going to win a division. But I think they've got a legitimate shot at it. Let's see who else he surrounds himself with, who he hires as his offensive staff, who they draft at number 2. It's a lot of questions to be answered, but I think they got a shot.
He needs to hire and make sure that Kevin O'Connell stays. There are other good offensive minds. It's not that Kevin O'Connell is perfect and is a saint or anything like that and has all this wealth of experience and is just going to automatically snap his finger and they're going to score 30 points a game. But the biggest reason why I'm so, I guess, in favor of O'Connell staying and him retaining him, even though, again, they haven't worked together, guys, is, and I guess there's been a lot of reports this week, so until they make it official, maybe today at 2 o'clock, we'll just have to see, is I do not want Dwayne Haskins in the year 1 to year 2 transition. I'm okay with it happening after year 2 or year 3 if Kevin O'Connell leaves for a head coaching job, which he's going to be a head coach in this league. I do not want him going through that year 1 to year 2. Every quarterback, every coach that I've ever talked to about this specific issue says year 1, year 2, the offseason, joining those two is the most critical, the most important, where you learn the most, where you feel the most comfortable. I don't want him having to learn a completely new language after a up and down year 1. So to me, Kevin O'Connell is the most important thing here moving forward.
Yeah, you're probably right. You probably should keep that guy in place. That would be important for him.
Unless there are better guys. This is what we don't know. I understand he's a popular name. I don't know. What do we know about the dynamic between Bill Callahan and Kevin O'Connell this year? How much was Bill Callahan controlling the play calling? Just watching as a fan, I saw Bill Callahan on the sideline with a play sheet. I understand that Kevin O'Connell may have been calling the plays, but I don't know how much control he had, and I don't know the other candidates, by the way. I'm sorry, if Norv Turner was interested, Norv Turner may be a better offensive coordinator still than Kevin O'Connell.
I'm sure Norv Turner is more polished and more, I guess, certainly has a higher pedigree, right? We have no idea if he would want to come back to this.
Of course not, yeah. I'm just throwing out a hypothetical name.
Sure, absolutely. But that's a name that makes a ton of sense considering his connection to Ron Rivera. Here's what I would say. My understanding is, and this could be wrong, my understanding is there was a philosophical divide between Callahan and Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell was much more aligned with Jay Gruden and how he saw offense. And, you guys have talked about it. Grant and Danny talk about it nonstop. The first down passing attack, what that does. People label me as you want to run. No. I want to, of course, do what's effective, but that was the problem. Is I think Callahan wanted them to run on first down more and wanted them to run more, from what I understand and from what I saw, because he knew Dwayne Haskins wasn't ready. He knew Dwayne Haskins was not prepared to go. He knew that Dwayne Haskins had a long way to go. That's why they weren't playing him before ultimately he took over, I guess by need, because of injury to Case Keenum. So to me, it made no sense to have him go out and run an offense that you'd ideally like to run. Again, heavy first down passing, all that stuff. If the guy is not ready, and if he's getting sacked once every 10 pass dropbacks, that was the problem. So yes, there were frustrations. Maybe I think on Kevin O'Connell's part that, hey, the handcuffs were on, and if you just let me do this, he'll get better. Well, he eventually took the handcuffs off, and he did good, and he did improve, but in order to get to that point, there was a process, and Bill was trying to reduce it and make it as easy as possible on the young kid, and instead of just force-feeding him and jamming it down his throat. And I thought that was the right way to go about it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Chris, so we hear that Callahan is out, and we've heard that most, if not all of the defensive guys are out. Is Kevin O'Connell the only guy you expect to be back?
I don't know if I would say that. I mean, you have the special teams coordinator, Nate Katzer, who's got a chance to stay here.
Okay.
I guess there was a report, I think it was Julie Donaldson, who said the running backs coach, who's highly thought of, Randy Jordan, could stay. I mean, again, we just don't know what Ron is going to do and who's going to want to stay, quite honestly. On Callahan, I mean, obviously nobody should be surprised by that. He wanted out of his contract last year. Bruce wouldn't let him. He wanted to go to Cincinnati to join Zach Taylor and his son. That's where I expect him to wind up. I don't know if that's definitely going to happen, but that's where I would expect. But he wanted out. Tom Sewell only came back last year once they stopped toying with Minuski. That was a deal. That was a package deal. I don't expect Rob Ryan or Ray Horton or any of those guys to come back. And quite honestly, you need a completely clean slate on the defense. The offense, okay, maybe you might be able to figure something out there. The defense, you just have to clean shop.
Yeah. Do you think that those decisions will start being made pretty soon after they have the press conference?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they're being made right now. And, I mean, in addition.
Announcements, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't, see, it's weird. The Redskins don't usually announce anything more than, like, say, the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator. So I don't know if we're going to get full-scale announcements in terms of the coaches, especially if they leave. Usually then, they'll announce new coaches that come in. So, I guess we'll be able to figure that out when that happens and that gets announced. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But certainly we're going to ask Ron Rivera about all of this stuff today, whether it's at the podium. And what they usually do, guys, just, at these big shindigs that they have at Redskins Park is they do the press conference, right? We get to ask a bunch of questions, but we only get to ask one question each. And then we have like little side sessions and usually like one-on-ones, but little side sessions, maybe like a group session where we really dig down and where we can really ask some of the questions that may be a little less appropriate, maybe a little more hardcore football in those little side sessions. That's how it usually happens.
All right, one other question before we let you go. And by the way, we're going to get to more calls in the next segment, 800-636-1067, open line Thursday. But I was talking about the draft earlier in the show, and the Skins are picking 2. And I know that Chase Young is the overwhelming favorite to go there, and I would have no problem with that. I think he's elite. He's one of these, probably once in a generation type players. He can be a showstopper. But he might not be the number one need. Especially if Trent Williams goes, you might want to draft Andrew Thomas, who, I don't pay attention to offensive linemen, but I paid attention to him. He's considered elite from the University of Georgia. He's an elite pass blocker and run blocker. That would be a need if I were the Redskins, especially since you have a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback next year. And then at receiver, I don't know how much you watch the Citrus Bowl or how much you watch Bama this year. Jerry Jeudy is a stud.
Awesome. He's awesome.
Now receivers, I get it. It's pretty deep in the draft this year. But the way the NFL is now, you have to have 2 or 3 really good ones.
Right.
And right now, the Skins have 1 good one.